everybody, and welcome along to our Friday cook along on Destination Uri. I'm Aine Boyle from Good Food Nutrition, and I'm going to be showing you today how to make a really kind of quick and simple but delicious Moroccan chicken tagine. So it's nothing too fancy. A tagine is basically just another word for like casserole or stew in Morocco, but this is just one. It's got the most gorgeous sort of warming spices in it, but it's also again it's making use of a lot of the sort of herbs and spices that, if you have been following the videos, I sort of tend to use a lot of the same ones. So it means that if you're buying the ingredients for this, you can take it that they're not just going to sit in your cupboard and lock it there for a year before you throw them out. I do tend to reuse a lot of the same sort of herbs and spices as well. So some of the ingredients today we're going to be using is, you'll see on your recipe as well that this particular recipe is for about 5 people, so there's quite a lot in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a smaller version today as well for you as well. So it just means that if there's only 2 of you or maybe 3 of you in the house, it's still totally doable. You can pop it in the freezer, and it means that you can pull it out during the week as well, and you'll have dinner on the table so quickly. So again, some of the ingredients we're going to be using, I have some chicken breasts. So I just have 2 normal, sort of about 6 ounce chicken breasts here. But again, you can use turkey as well if that's what you have in the house. Generally, I would say to you is getting turkey or chicken thighs, because they've been on the bone as well beforehand, is they do tend to sort of not dry out as much and maybe keep that moisture in them. But it's actually quite tough unless you're going to the supermarkets. It's tough enough to actually get them. So today I'm just using some chicken breasts I've bought. Some of the spices we're going to be using in this, we're going to be using obviously our trusty garlic as well, our red onion. But in terms of the spice and the flavour of Morocco, I have some ground cinnamon, I have some ground cumin, and I also have some ground coriander. So again, the cumin is one that I used in the chicken curry. I think it was last Friday I did that. And again, that's like a really warm, it's almost like a sweet spice, but it's kind of got that lovely warm flavour and smell to it. And the coriander again, just that beautiful sort of Indian or Middle Eastern spice as well. It gives a lot of warmth to the dish as well. What we're also going to flavour it up with is obviously some of our salt and pepper. I'm going to be adding in as well is a little bit of vegetable stock as well, and that's just to give it a bit of wetness as well. And then one of the other big flavours in this dish is we're going to be using some tinned tomatoes. Now, ideally some chopped tinned tomatoes, but I couldn't get any at the moment. So I just have some whole plum tinned tomatoes. And what I'm going to do is when they go into the dish is I'm just going to get a fork and I'm going to mash them down, and they will start to separate in there anyway. So, and then to add another little dimension to it as well, you don't have to, but in your recipe you'll see I'm using some chickpeas as well. And again, chickpeas really common in tagines as well. And they do tend to bulk out a dish as well. Another great source of protein as well. So if you want to do without the chicken and make it a vegetarian meal, you can do that just by adding in your chickpeas. So I have a load of them to it as well. And then on your recipe, you'll see I've put down apricots. Now, I couldn't get my hands on apricots, so I'm going to actually do a substitute. So I've got these absolutely gorgeous, you can see here, they're called medjool dates. And they're really caramelly. And what we're going to do is we're going to slice them, stone them, and then we're going to chop them down as well. But they are the most beautiful, almost caramelly flavour. And they're going to add some of that lovely sort of soft sweetness to the dish. Sometimes in tagines, people add in some honey or some maple syrup. We're just going to add in the dates. And again, they're going to start to almost melt down into the dish. So let's get on with the starting the cooking. And we're going to warm up our pan to just a medium heat. We are going to go in with a little bit of our coconut oil or our olive oil. So I'm just going to pop a little bit in there. Now I'm going to actually brown off the chicken and gently fry that off to seal it off first before I add in the sliced onions and garlics as well. Simply because I want it to have a good bit of colour, and I also want to start the cooking process as well. So a little bit, about half a teaspoon to 1 teaspoon of your coconut oil, and just let that melt in the pan. And just move that around the pan to get that melted and to get that heat up on it. And again, it's really important that you do seal off your meat, even the same with beef and lamb and everything as well, is because if you don't, when you start to cook it and it hasn't been sealed, that lets the moisture out of it as well, which means it dries the meat out. So it is so important to start off first with sealing it, which is basically just frying it gently on one side, then turning it over, and that just seals in all the moisture and the juices from it as well. And again, that just keeps in the flavour, but it means that the meat at the end is not all dry as well. So we're going to go in with that and just let them start to cook. And what I'm going to do while they're in the pan is straight away, I'm going to go in with a little bit of black pepper and some salt. So again, a good, at this point now you know how much I love my black pepper. So a good grinding of your black pepper. And remember, your pepper and salt is all part of the seasoning for dishes as well. It's not just one of those habitual things. This is why I talk about buying really good quality rock salt or sea salt, because it really does have an awful lot of flavour. I tend to use the pink Himalayan sea salt. And the reason I do this is for health purposes, because it's less processed, which means there's still a lot of the minerals and all in there, including magnesium as well. So in we go with a little sprinkling of our salt just over the meat. And I have now popped up the heat slightly higher, and I'm just going to let that brown off quickly as well. So while that's doing that, I'm going to get on and prepare the other ingredients of what's needed. So I'm adding in for our vegetables, to up our veg intake as well, and really to bulk it out so that it feeds more people, is I've got one lovely red pepper, or you can go with a yellow pepper, green pepper, whatever. And then I had left over a few of these lovely, you can see them here, the lovely sugar snap peas. These are delicious. They're almost like the next step up from a munch too, where the lovely peas are inside them. You can pop them out as well, but they're gorgeous. And if cooked gently, they give a lovely colour to the dish, but what they do as well is they give texture, so there's a lovely crunch to them as well. So we're going to start by just preparing our veg here. And we're just going to slice down one red onion, nice and finely. So again, just finely sliced or finely diced. So we don't want massive chunks in it as well. So again, just everything nice and finely sliced. Leave that to one side there. Now check your chicken at this point, just to make sure it's browning, and that's coming on gorgeous. And then what we're going to do is I have 2 garlic cloves in here because I want a good sort of hit of garlic flavour. So there's a lot of flavour in here, so we need a lot of spices and flavour. So we need to make sure we're balancing it off as well. So we're just going to take the skin off these 2. And again, just using the back of your knife to press down on them. Or as I would say before is using a garlic press if chopping and stuff is not your game. It's just as easy. And if you don't like the chopping as well, is using the side of your cheese grater, the kind of zesty side as well. And then you can just grate the garlic down the side of that one as well. Now, just going to take off the little sort of stubby bit at the end of these. And we're just going to press down on them and then just finely slice them. And on the second one as well. And that's that lovely. So again, you want them nice and fine because you don't want to be getting a little lump of garlic in your mouth when you bite into it. But by the time this cooks, they pretty much dissolve down into the dish anyway. Okay. So that is looking gorgeous. I'm going to give that another minute on there. With the chicken as well and we discussed this over the last few weeks, is that don't overcook it, okay? A chicken breast, say about a 6-ounce breast, is going to, which is about 125 grams to 170 grams. If you're roasting it in the oven, it's going to take about 21 to 22 minutes. When you're cooking it here on the pan, I'm going to cook it so that they're about 4 minutes that side. Then I'm going to turn it over, do another 4 minutes, and start to get the other bits in with it, okay? Then I'm going to be adding in the tomatoes as well as and letting that cook down as well. So you want to make sure you're not overcooking it so that it's not completely dry on you. So I'm going to show you what I mean color-wise with this. So when I'm talking about the color on your pan, I'll just get this so you can see it. We're talking about that beautiful golden color there. And again, that looks so gorgeous when you're serving it up as well. But also it's sealed in all that juices and it's nearly given a little crust to the meat as well. So in we go. We turn those over. In we go with our onions. Sprinkle them around it. And then just break them up gently. Now we haven't put in any more oil at this point because you're getting sort of a little bit of juice and stuff coming out of the chicken breast as well. Not an awful lot, but you don't want an awful lot. And that's going to continue to brown on that side as well. So again, just break up those onions. And then we're also going to go in. We're not going to go in with our garlic yet because if you remember from before is that the garlic sort of goes in just before we're adding in the kind of wet ingredients, simply because we do not want it to burn, at which point it becomes bitter and there's a dreadful taste from it. Okay, just move that all around your onions. So really when you're cooking this, the best thing to do is you want a nice sort of wide bottom pan as well. And it means then that everything is cooking away on one layer and it's not like you sort of stew in it. So just turn that down slightly just because the onions are taking on a bit of colour. So just while that is cooking away, I'm going to slice down our pepper. So again, just slicing down the four sides and just pulling off the sort of middle bit where the stalk is and making sure that you're taking out all of the sort of seed bits. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to roughly chop it. Very roughly. You can finely slice it if you like, but I personally don't think there's any need. So in that goes to the pan. And the same with the other bits. Is get everything in there. And all we're going to do is just very quickly seal off the peppers. So again, it's quite a rustic dish. And originally when these would be cooked, they would have been cooked in, the reason they're called tagines is that they're actually cooked in, the name of the dish they're cooked in is a tagine. And you may have seen them, they're like this sort of terracotta dish at the bottom, and it's kind of got like a funnel top that sits on it. And the idea is that the steam in it as it's cooking sort of rises and comes back down to keep the dish lovely and moist as well. So it's a great way of actually nearly steam roasting your stuff as well. Okay, that chicken is looking fantastic. Now, just move the peppers around there, and I'm going to show you now what this looks like in 1 second. So again, just another little tiny bit of our black pepper. And then let me just show you what this is looking like at the moment. So you can see there is you've got the beautiful brown, lovely golden chicken, and then the peppers are starting to seal as well. So again, keep moving everything around there. And now we're going to start to go in with your spices as well. So on the recipe you have is for 5 people. I'm going to make mine for about 2 people. So I'm going to have the amount that you will have on your recipe. So we're going to go in with about 1.5 teaspoons of cumin. So we have our ground cumin here. So again, this is one of my favorite spices because it's warm and it's sweet, but it's just the most beautiful sort of spice. And it's so versatile as well. I use it in so many things, in fajitas and everything. We're going to be going in with 1.5 teaspoons of our ground coriander. So again, and as the reason, as I say, we're putting them in at this stage is that we want them all to hit the base of the pan and to get for all that essential sort of aromatic flavour, smell, everything to come out of them at that point. And then we're going to go in with 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, which is just, oh my God, it's amazing. It's like a sweet spice. And then we're just going to give everything a really good mix around just to almost dry toast those ground spices. And that's really important that they hit the pan for about 30 seconds to a minute, because you are partially cooking them off. And you just want to keep everything moving around. You can coat the chicken in it and everything at this point. And that is just looking fantastic and smelling absolutely beautiful. So a little tip with cinnamon as well is that if you tend to suffer with sugar cravings, cinnamon is a brilliant spice to add into your diet because it actually reduces cravings for sugar, and it's great. So if you find sort of that you do tend to crave sweet stuff during the day, get it into like your baking, into your cooking, into your porridge in the morning, absolutely lovely. But it is a great one for balancing your blood sugars and for actually taking away the cravings as well. So it's a spice that we would use a lot in nutritional therapy for people who are trying to reduce sugar intake or to curb their sweet tooth as well. Now that is looking fantastic. We'll just show you. So you can see there the beautiful flavor, the beautiful colours and all in there. Now, into this, now we're going to add our garlic. So straight in, give it a bit of a mix around. And at this point is, remember, your chicken is still cooking away there lovely. I'm going to turn it again. That's looking fantastic. And I'm going to go in now with our chopped tomatoes, okay? So just the spices and all are toasted nicely, and you can smell them. That's when you know, once you can really start to smell them, and you can smell them, they smell very different when they're cooked, like a stronger smell, you know that they are ready to go. So in we go with our tin of tomatoes. So this is where I always have tomatoes in the cupboard. It's one of those, it's a basic cupboard essential that I could not do without. I use them in so many dishes, and it's a cheap way of cooking as well. So even last week when I cooked the chicken curry, that was made using tin tomatoes as well. And then we sort of brought the creaminess in with yogurt or brought it in with coconut milk. So again, it's just one of those for making your own pasta sauces, bolognese, even tomato soup and all, tin tomatoes are way forward. So what I'm going to do is, I'm actually just going to, I have that kind of on a medium heat. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit of stock to that as well. So about 1 teaspoon of our stock. And on your recipe, it'll say 2 stock cubes. And I'm just going to add a little bit of boiling water to that to ensure there's a bit of sort of sauce there as well. And using the back of my fork, I am just going to break down those tomatoes. But obviously, if you're using chopped tomatoes, then you're not going to need to do this. And already, the sauce is starting to really thicken up as well. Because remember, those spices, when you're adding in spices or powders like that as well, they do tend to thicken up your sauce. So they are going to give you, rather than having like a very watery sauce with this, the tomatoes and them are going to sort of thicken it up. So again, just crushing down the tomatoes. And then give everything a really, really good stir around. Well, the colour is just amazing. It's just such bright, vibrant red. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add another little bit of boiling water in there as well into our stock. And that is bubbling away nicely now with the chicken. So I'm just going to show you this now in 1 second what this looks like. Oh my gosh, that is just gorgeous. Okay. So I'll give you a very brief look sort of what that's like there. I don't know if you can see that. But it's the sauce is starting to get really thick now. The chicken is really starting to cook down as well. So we're just going to let that sit there probably for about 5 minutes while I just add on the other little bits as well. And then what I'll do is I'll recap back for you as well, and just so you know exactly what you're doing. So I'm going to turn down that sauce slightly down just because it's very high there. Okay, so the other ingredients going in here, as I said, is we're going to go in with some of our gorgeous dates, medjool dates. So all you're going to do for these is you can do it with your finger as well, is you're just going to pull them apart And inside you'll see a teeny little stone, and you just want rid of them, okay? Because obviously the stone you're not going to eat as well. But dates are another one as well, is that if you find that you really have a sweet tooth, obviously I'm not advocating you eating a full bag of dates, but they are a good one for sort of giving you that sweet hit. I would use them a lot, my kids do as well, is, you know, you can stuff them with things like nut butters as well, and they taste absolutely gorgeous. So if you find that you're sort of craving sort of a little sweet something after your dinner, they're a good one for actually having in the diet, because again, they will hit that spot. So just keep everything moving around there. And we're going to go in with our sugar snap peas. So again, just toss them in. You don't really want to cook them too much because you want that lovely crunch from them. So we'll just push them underneath the liquid here. Let them cook away. Now you may find at the end that you need to add another little bit of water as well to thin it down, but I think we'll just wait till the end to see that. So with our dates, is again, just slice them down the middle and then just slice them lengthwise. So again, they're going to go in, they're going to dissolve down into the dish anyway, and then when you're eating them, you'll barely even notice they're there texture-wise. And about 4 is, I think on your recipe, it's 8 apricots. So really, if there's only 2 of you, I would say probably 4 dates, because they are quite sweet. So a little goes a long way in them. So I'm just going to pop them straight in, just over the top. Once they hit then that liquid, they're just going to start to dissolve down. So give everything a good mix around. And at this point as well, remember, your chicken is basically submerged. So it is actually going to continue cooking away in there. And if you're doing this on the hob and you think, oh, stop this, I can't be bothered watching this, is at this point, stick it into a casserole dish, or even start it off in a casserole dish, finish it in the oven at 180. And if you're going to do that at this point, is into the oven, you're probably going to need it for about, I would think, probably about 15 to 20 minutes, just to allow that chicken to definitely cook out. Now, okay, we're also going to go in at this point with a few tablespoons of our chickpeas. And our chickpeas is, what I tend to do, I'm sure you've noticed what I do before, is that I tend to sort of bulk cook my chickpeas in a slow cooker, or in a slow cooker overnight. And then what I do is then I'm able to keep them in the fridge, and they will last for quite a bit in the fridge. Or what I tend to do is pop them into bags and put them in the freezer. And then that means that every time you sort of need some chickpeas or even cannellini beans and all I use on it, is I just have them there ready to take out and use. And these ones here, I have cooked chickpeas and cannellini beans together. And again, it's just adding another protein in there, but it's also adding a big whack of fibre as well in there. So you're going to get your fibre obviously from your vegetables as well, but you're going to get lots and lots of fibre from your beans as well. So these are little powerhouses, absolutely love them. So in we're going to go with these. And as I say, these are just a mix. But of course you can, I'm not expecting you to spend 8 hours cooking chickpeas. You can of course use sort of, you know, the tinned varieties as well. Just when you're buying them, is that double check on the back there's no added sugar on them. And if possible, no salt as well, although they do tend to use salt for preserving them. But I suppose when you're buying the canned goods, is that you want to make sure there's as little as possible in there. Fresh is best, but at this stage at the moment, we can't get our hands on stuff, so it's harder. Now, just mix that all around. Turn your chicken over in there as well. Keep that cooking away there, and then I'm going to let that sit and cook away there for a couple of minutes, and I'll just recap on what we've actually done here for anybody who's only tuning in now. So that is just, I'm going to actually just try the sauce just to see where we're at with it. And it's bubbling away now, and that's what we want, because we want it to reduce so it's really sticky and sweet as well. So, oh my God, that's absolutely gorgeous. That is just, the depth of flavour that's coming from those spices is just stunning. And you can actually taste the dates in there as well. Just beautiful. So I'm going to let that cook for about 5 minutes, just while I recap on where we're at. So for your ingredients, I used 2 chicken breasts, but you can use chicken thighs that's in your recipe as well, okay? Or if you want to leave the bone in, they're going to be very, very succulent. If you find you're not great with cooking chicken, buy it with the bone in. It's much better. At least you know it's not going to be massively dry. We brown that off in a pan on a sort of medium to high heat because we want to get a good bit of colour on that. We added in our onions, some sliced onions, some sliced pepper in there, and we just, we browned off the chicken for about 4 minutes on the first side and about 4 minutes on the second side, and then we added in our sliced onion, our sliced pepper in there. So it got that heat going, started to caramelise the onion in there as well, and left that for maybe about 2 or 3 minutes, at which point then we started to go in with our spices. And our spices in this tagine is ground cumin, ground coriander, and ground cinnamon. If you don't have any cinnamon in the house, a cinnamon stick is lovely as well. I tend to keep both in the house because they do have different uses as well. We cooked off those spices for probably about a minute to a minute and a half on the dry heat, so no extra oil in there. And the reason I'm doing that is that I just want those gorgeous aromas and flavours to come out of those spices. And you have to do that, you really have to let it hit the dry heat. So it's getting quite steamy in here. I'll just turn this around. Then after that, then obviously a bit of salt and pepper in there as well. We then went in with our garlic just at the last minute to make sure that it didn't burn. And then we went in with our tinned tomatoes in there. So you have your chopped tinned tomatoes. We added in our little bit of stock, so about 150 millilitres of stock, or in your recipe you'll see it's just 2 stock cubes. But I like to just have it a little bit wetter. With the tomatoes on its own, it's quite a dry tagine, which is what tagines are. But I just like that little bit of extra sauce there as well. So I'm just going to turn that down ever so slightly. It's really hot. And then we added in the stock in there as well, just to sort of add a bit of moisture. We then added in our chopped dates in there as well. Just sliced them down, just took the stone out of them and sliced them down nice and sort of finely. Or your apricots as well from your own recipe there, you'll see. And then we went in with our chickpeas in there as well. So our cooked, they're already cooked. So not your dried chickpeas, they're your cooked chickpeas. And we've just let that simmer away there nice and sort of, on a fairly, a medium heat, like it is bubbling away. And the colours in it are just amazing. So you, from start to finish, it's probably about 20 to, once you get everything kind of chopped and diced, it's probably about 20 to 25 minutes to cook it. So if you are in a rush for it, but at the moment I know everybody's at home, so we don't tend to be as rushed for it. But if you're cooking this after lockdown, even have your vegetables chopped in the morning in a Tupperware in the fridge, and it just makes it so much easier for you. Now this is just looking absolutely gorgeous. Lovely, lovely colour on the chicken as well. And I think we are nearly ready to go on this. So yeah, that's probably nearly ready to go. So again, we're just going to try our sauce just to make sure it doesn't need any more seasoning. So just, oh, that's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. The depth of flavours in there and the sweetness from the cinnamon and the dates is absolutely beautiful. Goodness me, that's gorgeous. It's funny when you don't make recipes for a while and then you go back to them, you realise, why didn't I make that for so long? But anyway, that's just, we get bored of eating the same thing and we want to eat different stuff as well. So I'm going to serve that up now very, very shortly. I'm going to finish it off with some lovely chopped parsley on the top, or you can add some lovely coriander as well. Totally up to yourself. And what I'm going to do is, I'm just saying that if anybody made the wholemeal soda bread that I had demonstrated on Wednesday, would love to hear from you. Met a lady today who said that she's going to be making it this afternoon, which is great to hear. So if anybody has made it or has made any of the other dishes, a few people have contacted me with photos and said they really enjoyed them as well. But if you have made any of the dishes, please get in touch. Drop a comment below in the comment box, because I do love to hear sort of who's made the stuff and who's enjoyed it, or on the other side of it is who hasn't enjoyed it. So if there's anything kind of you don't enjoy, positive feedback, even in a negative way. Now, I think that is ready to go. So we're just going to serve that up. So I'm just going to turn that off. Going to get myself a nice big plate. And we'll go in just with a portion for one. So obviously, you're just going to be going in with one chicken breast on this. So first off is we're just going to add sort of a base to the tagine with some of our gorgeous vegetables and tomatoes and all. So again, it's a nice, it is simple. I think it's very simple in that really it's once you have your recipe in front of you and you know what you're putting sort of in the dish, it's not, you couldn't say it's complicated. I guess you just need to be sort of organized as well for it. So again, you've got the beautiful colors from the green beans as well. So I'm going to give the flavor from the dates in it and the apricots that you'll find is it's just beautiful. So again, I'll give a good, this is a man-sized portion. You can tell I eat big portions. That is just beautiful. And then onto the top of that, we are just going to add the chicken breast. And I'm not going to slice this one because I actually think it's kind of that sort of rustic look on it as well. I'm just going to put a little sort of sprinkling of our chickpeas over the top. A little bit of our sauce as well. And that is just beautiful. So I'm just going to finish that off with some lovely herbs as well. And if you do like what you're seeing here is, I'd love, as I say, is if you want to place a comment below, even like a thumbs up or whatever, let me know how you're enjoying it. And if you are interested in other recipes, I'll stick the link up afterwards, but feel free to pop on over to my Facebook group, which is the Fabulous Foodies. And each day I'm always posting sort of, nice recipes and tips on health and well-being as well, and lots of nutritional tips as well. So if it's an area you're interested in or you'd like to learn a bit more, is pop on over there and you can just join the group and I can approve you in as well. But there are lots of great sort of recipes in there. I regularly would be giving away some of my health and well-being books as well. These are great. Sometimes they're seasonal books as well. It could be like Speedy Suppers. It could be sort of like Boost Your Mood as well, or Supercharge Your Health as well. So if you're interested in those type of things, come over to the group and I can set you up with those as well. So we're just going to finish this off with a little sprinkling of our parsley. And that is looking just beautiful. And a little sprig on the top, a bit chefy, but does look the part. And then I'm just going to show you close up what that looks like. I'll just put another little bit of parsley around the outside. But as I say, you can use coriander as well, both of those well. So just another little bit around the outside. I'm just going to give you that, a little look to the camera there so you can see. That is my Moroccan chicken tagine that was about 30 minutes. So you can see just all that beautiful colour there and just how simple it is to make as well. So guys, thank you so much for joining in today. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend and I will see you back here on Monday at 3 p.m. for more Cook Along. Take care, everyone.